Hello, this is Diné here with another video helping you to overcome those feelings of loneliness. In this video, I wanted to explore with you the concept of being multidimensional, explaining to you how we are everything but nothing, why we feel unloved although we are loved, why it's said that we are perfect beings, but humans are not perfect. Understanding those lonely thoughts and how your thoughts impact your brain, and how you are so much more than what you perceive. It could be quite confusing when we hear terms such as we are perfect, but then we hear someone else say, don't beat yourself up, we're only human. And I like to just take a moment to explain that we are both perfect, but we're also imperfect in our humanity. So in order to make things a little bit clearer, we have to realize that we are multi-dimensional. And I don't mean dimensional in some like we live in another dimension, although if you want to look at it in that way, feel free to do so. But I'm saying it more from a mindset, or even if you want to look at it scientifically, where your brainwave level resides in a moment. Understanding that scientifically, using the EEG machine, you could see that our brain changes based on our thoughts, based on where we are mentally. So we have the beta, which is where you are conscious, you are present in this moment, where you are present with someone. If you're having a conversation, you're listening to what they say, and you're engaging. Alpha is associated with being a little bit more relaxed, maybe just hanging out, watching a movie, listening to some music. You're present, but you're not in any sort of stressed or highly focused on anything, as you would be when you're in beta. And then even more relaxed than that, or where actually the brain wave level slows down, is when you're in a theta phase, when you're using the theta waves. And that's when you're in light sleep or deep meditation state. That's when you're very, even more relaxed, perhaps drifting off to sleep. And meditation is here, hypnosis is here in the theta state. And then there's delta, where you're in a deep sleep, and that's where healing occurs. Some may say that's where you're in a coma. So we can use science, we could use the EEG machine to see exactly where you are by utilizing your brain waves, which also is connected to your thoughts, your mind. So it's sort of like a way to see your thinking and how the thinking impacts your brain, and how using the brain, you can use science and something concrete to measure your thoughts, if you want to call it that. My point is that you can use the EEG, you can use that to reference multidimensional, meaning that you go into different states. And again, it's all driven by your thoughts, where your mind is. So when we are in beta, when we are conscious, alert, focused, you can tie that to being in the physical human experience. We are directly tied to our senses, our five senses. Sense of sight, sound, smell, touch, and taste. Your five senses, which is directly tied to your consciousness, which is directly tied to you being in this physical world. So when you're connecting to your subconscious mind, you can consider that again another dimension. For sure, again, based on the EEG, it's another brain wave, your mind, your thinking. Your mind is in a different place. It's more tuned within. You can connect that to that sixth sense of intuition, insights. And there, you're more shifting into the alpha theta brainwave levels. Or some people may want to say a different dimension. You can say a different state, different feeling. You're more connected internally. And then there's another state where you're beyond that, or what could be called the super conscious state, where you're more now into the theta delta, where you're beyond your physical senses. And it's shifting from being a watcher of your human experience to a witness. Because when you're witnessing, you're not using your senses. I find it important to understand this when we hear these terms such as you are perfect, you are unlimited, you are boundless. These all come from looking at the part of you that is beyond the human self, your personhood. Because when you are looking at yourself from a human perspective and you say those things, then it feels very contradictory, and a lot of people get lost and confused and lose belief or become doubtful of their true potential, because all of it doesn't make sense to them. And so I'm explaining this to make it make sense, so you can realize who you are at the core, and that it is true. It is true on one level. One level, again, meaning your superconscious level, it is true. It's really understanding that both parts are right. It's all right. But it's a matter of what perspective you're looking at it from. So if you're looking at it from your superconscious, then yes. If you're looking at it from the human perspective, then no, it doesn't make sense. On the human level, the personhood level, looking at it from the human perspective, we have to realize that we are not perfect. We make mistakes. We have negative thoughts. We ruminate. We overthink about negative things. We can feel unworthy, unloved, lonely, like no one loves us. These feelings come up due to the fact that we are in a human body. connecting to our senses, looking for some stability when the things that we sense around us is always changing. So it can be so frustrating when we're looking for something definitive on this human journey, in this human experience, when everything always changes from that perspective. Always. My message to you is to realize that the human journey, the human experience, our personhood is only a part of who we are. And it's important to understand that, because if you consider this human version of you is all that you are, then you can never be that perfect part that you are searching for. You could never have peace, because that's not the nature of a human being. Just like the first noble truth, and in the second noble truth, is that we are always craving to be perfect. There's a part of us, for some of us, there's a desire to be perfect. The narcissistic part of us that exists, or on the other end of that is that feeling of unworthiness, feeling unloved, feeling like we're nothing. So that second noble truth explores that range in between. Again, being nothing, unloved, to being narcissistic, egocentric, and the craving to connect with either of those and all the variations in between. It's just a part of the human nature. The message is not to be confused, but to accept that that is a part of who we are, but do not completely connect with it. Understand that there is that part of you that is so much more than that. So when you're sitting in that space wondering, am I perfect? So there's another saying that says, I am perfect in my imperfections. Meaning that the imperfections that you have as a human are perfect for being a human, from the perspective of your higher self. That is looking at you, watching your journey, and appreciating your human experience from the higher self perspective. Walking through life as a human being, you will not see it the same way your higher self will see things. So if you are feeling lonely, if you're feeling unloved, if you're feeling unworthy, if you're feeling like no one cares about you, just have this heavy feeling inside. Know that there is so much more to you than that. And you're really just looking at things from the human experience. But to see things beyond that is so accessible for you once you learn and know how to break free of that mindset. And although it may seem outside of your reach, it's not. It's hard to see outside when you're so locked inside, when you're so caught up in that way of thinking. Innately, you know that this is not the way for you to go through life having these feelings, having these thoughts. And that innate part that knows that exists within you always, and tapping into that part of you is what you need to explore. So if you're interested in learning more, feel free to reach out to me using my profile Calendly link. And let's connect to get you more connected.